Ladies and gentlemen, this is the next episode of Unsung Heroes. Today we will be talking about the wrestler who was known as Nails, aka Mr. Magnificent Kevin Kelly from the AWA. This guy is a real controversial character in the wrestling business. Allegedly, he had knocked over and choked Vince McMahon in his office, and that is why we did not hear much about him in the world of wrestling after that. You go after the biggest guy in wrestling, and that's what happens. However, I've been going back and watching some of his matches from the AWA, and he was with Sherry Martel for a little while, and then he moved on to Medusa Michelli, two of the greatest female workers in the history of the wrestling business. So the guy's no slouch. If he's lined up with these gals, on screen, this guy is no slouch. And he worked a bunch of different matches in the 80s. He always had a certain kind of look to him, like he was a big guy, real mean looking. And, I didn't know that he was working in the WWF in dark matches before coming in as Nails, because as a viewer, we used to just see the promos that he was cutting from jail about how he was coming after the boss man, coming for revenge for being abused. And, I got to say, man, it was an interesting storyline, and he had a good look. I think he could have went pretty far with the gimmick. I don't know if he just was fed up with the business and attacked Vince, or if Vince had said something to him or done something. There's all these allegations that Vince McMahon gave him roids, or tried to sexually assault him or something like that, which all sounds like bullshit, because I think what happened was, at least this is what the franchise Shane Douglas said, was that after he attacked Vince, he came out of the office and there was a cop right down the hallway. So he said that Vince touched his penis or something like that. But it sounds like bullshit, but you never know in the world of professional wrestling, because there are a lot of weird people. However, Nails, man, the gimmick, the look, the jumpsuit, his look, you know what I mean? He looked like somebody that really had a number done on him. And I got to say, the jumpsuit with the DOC 302714 number. I don't know, man. I thought it was a good gimmick, man. I thought he could have went pretty far. After seeing some of his older matches as Kevin Kelly, Mr. Magnificent, I didn't think he was the greatest worker or anything like that, but he wasn't bad. I mean, he kind of looked like a young Steve Austin, but a little taller and a little bigger. His mobility was not as good. Austin could hit the ropes a lot better. But I'd say that, Nails was somebody who, I would have liked to see his run play out. I mean, there's a lot of guys like that. There's these guys that just pop up in obscurity. People like the Missing Link, Corporal Kushner. Who else? What's that dude's name? What the fuck was that guy's name, man? The bully guy in WWF. I can't remember his name. I was just looking him up the other day. Was it I can't remember his name. It's going to drive me nuts. But that'll be in maybe another episode one day down the line. Yeah, but, Nails, he did appear in WCW afterwards at a Slamboree and was going by the Convict. So he kept the gimmick and kept moving. And, I know there were some lawsuits and stuff like that. I don't know if it was over how he went about using the gimmick. I think it was more about him trying to get money out of the WWF. But this is somebody that I've not been able to forget about Nails, man. And, the urban legends have kind of, kept his name, somewhat relevant. Let's say, what is this? That was 92, so, shit, like, what is that, like 28 years later or something like that? Almost 30 years later, I'm still talking about the guy. Yeah, and then I saw some other stuff, too, online where he was doing some independent shows as Nails, but spelled with an S. So, I mean, it's always interesting to see how these people get around the gimmick infringement or copyright infringement or whatever they call the shit, intellectual property infringement. Nails, was somebody who did not back down from the most powerful man in professional wrestling, Vince McMahon, and for that alone, he is an unsung hero to some. So that concludes this episode. I hope you enjoy it. Please write some comments underneath if you like. And this is no disrespect to Vince McMahon. This is just a story that has to be told and preserved and remembered 28 years later. And that's why we do these, unsung hero episodes, is because, WWE right now is writing their own history, the way that they, took over professional wrestling and bought out WCW and ECW. But here at the Pro Wrestling Archives in the great wrestling city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we have our own way we see things when it comes to professional wrestling. Good night.